Hey, I'm April.
I'm Bayleigh, and this is the Nestled podcast.
Here we chat about how to help design meet purpose. Our hope is that you will find inspiration to live more intentionally.
So join us each week as we let you peek in our nest.
And as always, the door will be open.
Hi guys.
Hey everyone, welcome back.
Welcome back.
We're so glad that you joined us. I'm April.
And I'm Bayleigh, and this is the Nestled podcast.
We're glad you're here.
This week, and next week also, we're just going to take a couple weeks break from interviews, and we're going to talk to you guys about the upcoming holidays. I think a lot of times as podcasters, it can be easy to schedule these episodes for later on in the season when they're not as useful, so we wanted to kind of be on top of it.
Right, because we know that you guys are, just like we are, kind of in the thick of getting your decorating going. Also, you're going to be buying Christmas presents, especially the week of Thanksgiving. And so next week, we're going to give you guys our holiday gift guide and some ideas for every budget, mostly the smaller side.
Where we live.
Where we reside. But this week, we're excited because we're going to give you guys some holiday helps that have really made a difference for us. And we are categorizing those in 3 different ways.
So today we're going to be talking about gathering, feathering, and guarding our nest. And we'll explain more about what each of those mean in a little while. But this kind of came about from, we've been posting some videos on our stories on Instagram. And you guys have asked us a lot of questions. They've been good questions. And we said, let's just go ahead and jump in and give some tips on the podcast. So,
yeah. And we are in the process. We hope you guys have been able to check out our website. We told you last week that we had gotten a rebranding, and we're still working towards getting really all into our new brand and using all of the great things that Lauren gave us from Foster Lane Living. And with that, we hope to be bringing several blog posts to you about these same things, and we will highlight some of these that we've shared in our stories. But we thought this is a great way for us to have a conversation with you guys about the ideas that we have, but also to be able to kind of expand on those, because in the stories, I always feel like you got to kind of keep it short.
Well, it's 15 seconds.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And there's only so many 15 seconds you can do before you start to feel like no one's going to watch this.
Right. Yeah. It's true. But before we jump into all of our holiday tips, we wanted to talk a little bit about the week.
Yeah.
First of all, if you guys remember way back in our first season, we had Annie Persinger come onto the podcast, and she talked about ways to love the vulnerable, specifically to engage in orphan care in your community. And we have an exciting announcement. For those of us who live in Mobile, Annie is the new TFI advocate. TFI is the Forgotten Initiative. It is a great organization.
Yes.
It was the first organization that we as a church really engaged with in Mobile whenever we were trying to figure out what did it look like to care for kids in foster care. And Annie is going to be such a blessing in that role. So we wanted to say congratulations to her. We know that she's also a listener.
Yes, and so if you guys are part of a local church in Mobile, please reach out to Annie and just say, how can we support you in this new role? Because we know that the Forgotten Initiative is super thankful to have her, because they haven't had an advocate here for a little while, as the one that was here moved. And there are so many great programs through the Forgotten Initiative. If you aren't local, see if there's a Forgotten Initiative local to you, because it has been a great source of encouragement to the foster community, and also a way for us to, as Bayleigh said, love on the vulnerable and the children who are in foster care in our city. So,
and if your church or small group is looking for a good Christmas project to do, their journey bags are always a really good drive to do. And if you don't know about the journey bags, we talk about them in the episode, I believe, whenever we talked with Annie.
I'm pretty sure we did.
Yeah. So congratulations, Annie.
Yay, Annie. We're so excited for you. We can't wait to see how God is going to use you in this
praying
position.
For big things.
Yes.
Big things. The other thing that I wanted to say that I'm thankful for is we always talk about the ups and the downs with our neighbors.
Yes.
And Justin and I met a couple. Their names are Natalie and Tommy, and they came over for dinner last night, and they said they were going to listen to the podcast, and I told them I would give them a shout out. So hello to our new friends, Natalie and Tommy.
Natalie and Tommy, it's nice to meet you.
I haven't told you this, April, but I feel like we said April and Lance so many times last night because over the course of the last couple of years, like, our stories have gotten so intertwined that as we're telling our story, y'all came up a lot, and Hannah and Ben also. So we're like, we're going to have to introduce you to all of our friends
all the
because
people
we've
in our
said these
neighborhood.
names so many times, but we're excited. I told them they were probably the most similar to us neighbors that we have had over. So
That's exciting.
that's always a little bit
And
nice and a relief.
Bayleigh didn't mention this here. I think she may have said it on Instagram in our stories too. But she met them because she and Aniston were making a wreath and decided to do it outside.
Yeah, and that is an encouragement to you guys who are still Christmas decorating. We were making our wreath for our front door, and I said, you know what, the weather was beautiful, so this is a good opportunity to go outside, and that does not come naturally to me. That's still, like, we have to be very intentional to make ourselves do things out front. Our backyard is set up much more for us to live out there. We've got a nice deck. I've got no front porch, but we did it, and the whole family followed. And then we were able to meet our new friends when they were walking down the road. And if we had not gone out front to make that wreath, we would not have.
Yes.
And so.
And they thought it was ironic that you had a podcast about being neighborly.
Yeah. Well, I told April, I said, it's really, first of all, it's a weird thing when people ask what you do to say that you have a podcast.
Yes.
Nothing makes me feel more like a millennial.
I'm not a millennial, so it doesn't make me feel like that, but it makes me feel like people look at me and go, you're kind of lame.
Yeah. And so then they say, well, what's the podcast about? And it's like, meeting your neighbors, having them in your home, this.
Pretty much why you're sitting at my table right now.
I promise we didn't invite you over to talk about it on the podcast. We just really do try to live out what we're saying.
Yes.
That we do. So anyway, it was very nice to meet them, and I'm excited to grow that relationship. And feel very encouraged going into this, goodness, almost a new year.
Oh my goodness. It is
We're gonna
upon
blink,
us.
and it is going to be 2019, people.
It is here.
I'm going to be 30. I
Yes.
turned 30 at the start of the new year. I felt 30-something for a long time, so I'm, like, ready to claim it.
People, I feel like, start to treat you like a grown-up when you're 30. So now maybe, well, except that your new friend, he called you Miss.
Yes, okay, so Tommy called me Miss Bayleigh. It affected me enough that I shared that with April. But I'm like, I know I have 3 kids, but I'm not old enough to be Miss to you.
But now you're going to be 30, so.
But now everyone can just address me Miss. I'm going to be in my 30s.
Madam.
Yes. Madame Bayleigh Malone.
Gosh.
It would be hard for anyone to take me seriously as Madam if they were sitting in my house.
Yes.
A little tiny house.
Welcome to my castle.
Right. Anyway, so.
Moving on. So today we are kicking off a little mini holiday help series, and we're going to start out with talking with you guys about gathering your nest. And this is something that we've had several questions from you guys, and we love the questions that we've been getting, and we just had to share them with everyone because it was just too good to just briefly respond to somebody and not really dig into this a little bit more. So one of the questions that we got about gathering in our homes and about people stopping by and living with an open door and all of those things were, what are some ideas of staples to keep in your pantry, in your home, for when you have people drop by? So we started thinking through what are some things that we do, but also what are some things we've seen other people do that seem to really work well.
I think, first of all, you always want to have something to drink. Coffee, tea. Can we say wine?
If the spirit allows it.
Yeah.
Depending on your conviction, I think that wine is a great thing to keep.
Yes. Now, obviously, if your company struggles with moderation and you know them well enough to know that, don't pull it out. But for Justin and I, we do like to drink very occasionally, socially, and so I try to keep at least a bottle of wine in my fridge for this.
And we always try to have coffee and coffee fixings,
Yeah.
so to speak. And so we know that some people like half and half. Half and half is something that I keep in my refrigerator all the time because I can use it for a million different things. But I keep that for coffee and some kind of sweetener. But then also we try to keep some kind of creamer as well.
Creamer lasts forever, too.
It does, because apparently there's so many great chemicals in there that just keeps that stuff going.
Yep.
And you know what? If you serve it to your guests once, maybe they won't die.
Right.
From something.
Right.
Whatever happens from all those chemicals.
Right. Yeah, it's just once. You're
just
not
one.
contributing that much.
Yeah. But I can offer you half and half because at least it came from an animal. Unless you don't do animal products. I often do have almond milk creamer.
That's true.
As well. So
anyway, something to drink.
Something to drink.
My husband also my husband likes to keep seasonal beer for when men stop by.
Yeah.
So we've almost finished the Oktoberfest. He just needs a few more men to come over for a fire, and we'll finish off the Oktoberfest.
And you can move on to whatever the winter blend is.
That's right.
I have no idea.
Me either. I don't drink beer, so.
Yeah. Another thing that we do often is keep cookie dough. Cookie dough you can freeze it. And it's also a great thing because schools are always selling it. So when a kid drops by your house and asks you if you will buy some cookie dough, say sure, because you can stick that tub in the freezer and it takes no time to pull it out, scoop some cookies, and make your house smell delicious while you have guests. And that's just an easy thing that you can serve people.
You can also pre-make the cookie dough yourself and then freeze it in balls. And then
if you're really on top of things.
But we don't make our own.
Let's be honest. I bought a giant tub from Costco 2 weeks ago.
There you go.
That's like, I mean, how many pounds?
Right.
It's
a few.
A few pounds of cookie dough. Another thing that we almost always have on hand is chips and salsa. Depending on the time of day or the person. Most people can eat tortilla chips. Most people are not allergic to corn or tomatoes.
Right. Right.
So
chips and salsa is something even my allergy kid who can eat nothing can eat.
Yes.
And so the bags of tortilla chips are so inexpensive at Costco, and so is a huge. I used to make my own salsa, but Costco has some salsas that are like technically homemade, and
somebody made them.
Yeah. It's
El Tejas,
whoever, but it tastes homemade, and that jar usually lasts a long time, so that's a really easy one.
So another one, and I think we have a couple more, I think. Popcorn is an easy one, and most people like popcorn. It's easy, it's fast. If you don't like to cook popcorn in the microwave, I'm not big on like bags of popcorn because, once again, chemicals. But my kids, nothing makes them happier than when I put that pot on the stove and we pop some popcorn. But even that, you can buy a giant thing of popcorn kernels, and any oil you have, you can use to pop that popcorn in no time. And it's kind of a fun thing. It makes your house smell good. And so I think that that's something that you can always build on too. Because if I have any M&Ms, I can throw in there with the popcorn. Because I don't care about the chemicals in M&Ms. I just only the butter and the popcorn. But you can do like a sweet and salty mix or anything like that. That's something that you can easily mix up. And one of the things that we haven't talked about, but we probably will as we talk more about Christmas, is like you can make popcorn balls with anything that's left over. It's just an easy and a great thing that you can use for a lot of people.
Another thing, I would say this is specifically more for the holidays, but if you're out and about and people have a ton of leftover desserts and they say, does anybody want this? I mean, we've all been there where you like can't give the desserts away. Say sure, and like take the pecan pie or the cake that no one wants, and then hang on to it for a few days. And then if somebody comes over, that's such an easy
or even invite somebody over and say, hey, y'all want to come over for a piece of pie and some coffee? Because that is one of our easiest invitations is dessert.
Yeah, especially with your neighbors. You're right next door. That's the perfect.
And it doesn't feel as big of a commitment as dinner.
For sure. Also, we like to keep on hand snacks for kids, and the easiest snack for kids that is just, again, usually across the board, no one's allergic to, is fruit gummies.
Yes.
In particular, I believe it's the Mott's brand. I'll link it in the show notes, but they have no food dye because we don't do dye with one of our kids, and so that is, our neighbor, Miss Shirley, always has gummies every time we stop by, and our kids love that.
Yeah. And if you don't have kids and you know that you may have guests that have kids, having something for them is always a great idea.
Popsicles in the freezer are good
Popsicles, especially in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
The little freezer pops are great.
Mm-hmm.
And also on a not food note, if you don't have kids, but you have friends that have kids or have people that may stop by, if you keep just a bucket of toys, ask one of your friends who does have kids, and I promise you they can put you together a bucket in no time flat. And if you're trying to get rid of toys and you do have kids, we did this. We made buckets of toys that our kids still liked and liked to play with for all of the places that we frequent who didn't have toys. So my sister got a bucket of toys.
I wonder where that bucket
my
came
aunt
from.
got a bucket of toys. And it's a great way to clean out, but also my kids have things that they look forward to when we visit there. And so if you don't have kids, ask a friend that has kids because they could put you together a little thing probably in no time flat.
Yeah, and be happy to be rid of a few things for sure.
So another thing that we would suggest if you are hosting is that you create a comfortable environment in your home. And that can look like a lot of different things. One thing that's easy and that I think we all have access to but maybe don't put them out is throws.
Yeah, use your throws.
When it's cold outside, have throws around. There's nothing that makes me feel like people feel comfortable in my home more than for them to snuggle up on the couch with a blanket.
Yes. And here's the thing, too. If you don't have the budget right now to go out and get some really pretty throws that match everything in your living room, who cares?
Nobody cares. Walmart had fleece throws last year for $2.50.
And your children loved them. You got all of them one, and they loved those. Get you a basket that you've already got somewhere in your house and pile them all in there. You can put your favorite one on top. And it will not mess up the look of your room if you feel like your throws don't match. But I promise you, when someone is wanting to like feel welcome and warm, they don't care what color the throw is.
Right.
Only you care.
And sometimes that just is a comfort thing for people anyway. I know there are times that I'm like, I just want to like sit here and talk to you, but my shirt's pulling down wrong, or my, and like if I can get under a blankie at your house, like I'm just happier,
Right. You'll get more comfortable more quickly.
Another thing, if you have a fireplace or a fire pit, keep firewood. It's just an easy way to continue a visit or a conversation or something like that. We always encourage people to eat at their table. No TVs, no devices. Sit at your table and have a real conversation. Go back and listen to from Tiffany and get her book and get some conversation starters if you need that.
Right. The other thing about the firewood is when we're talking about hosting, and in particular, since someone had asked the question about people dropping by, if people drop by and you weren't expecting them and your house is maybe messy to the point that you don't feel comfortable inviting them in to just like sit around, if you've got firewood in the backyard, you can say, hey, let me put on some coffee and we'll go start a fire out back.
Yeah.
And then they can stay for as long as you want them to stay. You've extended an invitation without just like closing the door in their face.
Yes. So. And I'm going to be really open and honest about this. That's a great time if you have older kids to look at your kid and say, get in there and clean the bathroom.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, somebody go in there and make it to where I'm not like humiliated if someone has to go to the bathroom.
Turn off the light to your messy kitchen.
And I
clean the bathroom like and shut all the bedroom doors.
Yes, shut all the doors. My kids know the routine.
Yeah. The other thing I would add to that, since again, this in particular is someone talking about people dropping by, if you haven't created a culture around your home that has invited people to stop by whenever they want, it's probably not going to happen very much. That's okay. But with that, invite people over. Take advantage of this time of year when a lot of people are, A, off of work, and B, even if they are working their regular schedule, people just want to be together over the holidays.
Right.
Also, make sure you keep your eyes open and are very aware about the people in your life who live away from their family. Check in with them, see if they're going to be in town over Thanksgiving and over Christmas. And if they are going to be in town, they're not leaving, make sure they're not going to be by themselves.
Yes. And just one of the things that's so easy is just tell them your plans and say, you're welcome to come to any of these things with us. I, on a regular basis, call my grandmother, my aunt, whoever, and say, hey, just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm possibly bringing 2 families to Thanksgiving dinner or whatever it might be. And I've never had anyone that says, do not you dare give someone who doesn't have family here a place to go.
Right.
But if you don't offer that invitation, and then someone who doesn't have family at the last minute is not going to feel like they can join you.
Right.
But if you invite them ahead of time and they're like, oh, I've already told my grandmother that you were coming. Come on, it's fine. It frees people up to feel like they're not intruding.
And people are probably truly already stressing about, am I going to be by myself?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just volunteer to work or whatever because they don't want to be by themselves. Kind of on that same line, and I'll try not to stick here too long, but if you know someone has had a really hard year and some really hard things have happened to them, try and remember that and think through ways you can love on them extra. Even maybe you drop a little something at their house. Maybe you invite them over and say, like, I remember your pain and I know that you're hurting and I just wanted you to know that, like, I see that and I'm here for you or I'm praying for you and I wanted to give you room to grieve that. Because I think oftentimes, especially if it happened like last winter, you lost a loved one, people forget that it's your first Christmas without them, and what a huge thing that is when they're not walking through it currently.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and even for people who have experienced some really hurtful things in years gone by, they feel like people think they should be over it. And just being a place that people can talk about their loved one, talk about their pain, talk about their happiness, all the good times and the bad, and just being willing to ask those hard questions. And it's okay if they say they don't want to talk about it, but oftentimes people don't have anyone who will talk to them about those things. And so just being a safe place for people, a safe, soft place to land. And that's what the thing that we are constantly preaching to ourselves, but also to you guys, is this idea of Nestled. It's not just for our family and our little, nuclear family to have a soft place to land, but it's a place for the people around us to come in and be safe and to be warm and to be loved.
And you only get there by being really intentional. Yeah. And that's why we always say it's intentional living, because it's not accidental.
Right.
Very rarely do these opportunities present themselves by chance.
So be intentional with your gathering this season. And if you're the one who's hosting the big Thanksgiving or the big Christmas, can we just give you one word of encouragement? Let go of the things that seem like they're the most important and see the people that are in your life. Don't get so wrapped up in the details, because it's so easy to get there.
If you've ever seen a video of the man who's pretending to be the mom before the Christmas party and she's running around like a crazy person, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely.
I'll link that in the show notes too. It's hysterical, but it's funny because it's true. But let's all try not to be that person who's like, it can't look like someone lives here.
Yes.
That's one of the things that he says,
Right.
We can't let them know we said.
Yeah.
You have permission to just let that go and just enjoy your people. And if someone is coming over and you're like, I know they're going to judge me for this, that, or the other, who cares? That's on them.
Yes.
Let your mind go to a place where you're like, I'm sorry for them that they have such a hard time just being.
Right.
And
let that roll off your back.
Let that roll off your back.
We are not trying to contradict ourselves. However, the next thing that we want to talk about for just a few minutes, man, we got really going on that.
We did. That was not even a bullet point.
Nope. But we want to talk about feathering your nest. We've had several questions about specifically Christmas decorating, because that's what we've been doing. And so we're going to kind of jump into some of the Christmas stuff, because we know that everyone is, if you're not already decorating, you're heading into it. So some tips that we have for when you are decorating your home for Christmas.
Yes. And kind of relating back to what we were just talking about, do this for yourself, not because you're trying to impress anybody.
Right.
This needs to be something that you love. It does not have to cost you a lot of money. I probably spend about $30 a year adding to my dinky little collection of Christmas stuff, but it's very special to me and I enjoy it.
Yes. So. And also involve your kids in the process, but do not feel guilty that you have to create some perfect environment for that, because I'm going to be really honest with you. I've been a parent for 15 years now, and my kids, for the most part, care about Christmas decorating for about 21 minutes.
I was going to say 20 seconds because that's about how long my kids care.
If they're really into it, they're like, yeah, let's help. And then they kind of get distracted and they're digging through the stuff. And then the next thing you know, they're gone because you won't let them put the whatever it is on the tree that you're not ready for yet. So,
yeah. My kids' thing is they like to hang all the ornaments on the very bottom branches where you don't normally even hang any ornaments. So when I try and kind of gently correct that, they're usually done.
Yes.
So anyway.
Include them, but do not feel guilty if they do not want to do it. You are not a bad mom.
You're not a bad mom. And eventually they're going to grow up and maybe they will want to help you or maybe they won't.
Maybe they will not.
If it's something that you love, you just keep doing you, Mrs. Claus.
Yeah. So we put out on Instagram a few tree decorating tips, but before we get into that, let's talk about deleting.
Yes. Okay. This was probably one of the biggest mistakes I made in my first years of having my own home and decorating for Christmas is I would leave all of my regular decorations up pretty much and then would bring all the Christmas stuff in. And I love Christmas, and I love Christmas decorations, but at the end of the season, when I would pull it all down, it would be like such a sigh of relief because all the clutter was gone. And then, as I learned to live simply and minimize, suddenly I realized I need to take stuff out before I bring stuff in.
Right. So it's very simple.
Yeah.
First, before you start putting out Christmas decorations, take down your regular decorations, your little knickknacks and your pictures even, and all of those kind of things. And what we talked about this earlier, we both do this, is I make a pile of things that I know are not going to go with my Christmas decorations, pile of things that possibly could double and I could use in Christmas decorating, and then my Christmas decorations. And I pull from my middle pile as I'm going, and then what's left in that and in the stuff that I knew I wasn't going to use, I put in my Christmas bins and get them out of my house for the Christmas season. Yep. So that things are not so overwhelming, and so that you kind of have a fresh little set of things to look at. And Christmas is the perfect time to do really personal, I don't know. I feel like you can do more like cutesy memorabilia than I would like in my home all the time.
All of those little art projects and things that your kids love so much that you don't always want all around your house, perfect time of year for that. Last year, my kids and I painted a couple of canvases. I mean, they mostly did it. I just kind of helped direct what colors I would prefer the days. And they were so proud to pull those out again this year. And so one of our tips would be utilize the kid art if you have kids.
Yes.
Let them make stuff. Let them be proud of it. Don't get too tied up in it being perfect. It doesn't really matter. You're going to love it so much more and more and more as the years go on.
Yeah. And you already have things hanging on your walls. Don't feel like you have to find a new place for your Christmas paintings that your grandchildren or children made you. Stick them on the nails that are already on your wall and pull your other stuff down, and then you can put it right back up after Christmas is over.
If you've got a photo on the wall and you've got a picture the same size, just switch it out.
Switch it out.
Another thing that April and I were saying this morning that we both really want to do in our house more of is make sure that we switch out photos that are Christmas photos, but not like the perfectly posed photographer shots, but the fun, like Christmas morning, in your PJs, around the tree, messy bed hair. Those are like the moments of my kids that I really want to remember.
Yes.
And those are the ones that I want to see.
Yeah. And in the past, I have switched out photos in frames in my house, and I typically will just keep the photo that was in there behind, and then at the end of Christmas, I swap them. And whenever my I only had like 3 kids. I was way better at. I had Easter pictures. I had different. I had like
I had just Aniston, I had like,
and I would rotate them in the frame. It was like one of the digital frames that rotates on its own, but I did it.
Right.
But it's easy to just keep it behind it when the season's over, flip them back. But I want to do more of that. And it's an easy way to. My kids love it. They love to be able to look at pictures from Christmases past and to look at when it was just me and Lance and all of that, to be able to reminisce and to tell stories, which is what we want from our homes.
Right. And this is the perfect opportunity if you're someone who has been wanting to minimize and wanting to get rid of stuff you don't like but didn't know where to start. As you take it all down, if you're holding something, I got rid of a few things yesterday. I'm like, I don't even like this, and it's been on display in my house. Gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. I don't have to worry about it.
And I don't know where you live, but in Midtown, we can put stuff on the curb, and then by an hour later, it's gone. Somebody has picked it up.
Yeah.
So that's like literally free game. Gone. If it goes on the curb, it's free game.
I had a huge chalkboard that I used for the last few years on my mantle that I had like painted a quote on it, but then I couldn't get it to come off, so then I just kind of left the same quote. But anyway, I was like, I'm not going to use this. Instead of sticking it back in the shed, I put it by the road, and when I say by the time I walked back out front 5 minutes later, it was gone. So
hopefully someone will appreciate the lyrics to, what was it?
The,
Oh Holy Night.
Oh Holy Night. Yeah, it's like the whole song is written out. So I worked very hard on that a few years ago.
Maybe someone will seek Jesus because of that. Okay. So as far as tree decorating tips, we had a couple of people ask us about some specifics for their tree. And you guys, anytime you have those questions, send us a message. Like this person was asking, actually my sister sent us a message on Instagram, was asking about her tree and that she had navy and gold and what kind of garland should she do. And of course, one of our first suggestions is always snowball, puffball garland looks good on every tree, we think. But
yeah, well, also, we say that because every tree that we use it on, people send us a message and say, where did you get that garland?
Where did you get it from?
And it's a garland we've been using for 3 years now. And people still love it.
Yeah.
So,
and Hobby Lobby is where we got it from. Target did start carrying them this year, so you can get them at either place. But if you have a question about something, it is very helpful if you shoot us a picture. And we will be glad to give you some tips. If there's a specific design thing for your Christmas tree or your mantle that you're saying, I don't know what to do here, send us a photo on Instagram, direct message us, or tag us in it, and we will do our best to give you some ideas.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, that is one side of our interior styling business that we have continued to do. So we have been like Christmas decorating trees like crazy people the past week and a half, but it's starting to wrap up because
it's that time.
It's the time.
Yeah, everyone tries to get that done at least by the end of Thanksgiving. Yeah. So we gave several tips, and we will we are going to blog these for you guys for Christmas tree tips. One of the things that I think could be expounded on, not just for your tree, but is to think outside of the box for what you put on your tree, but just across the board. I think thinking outside of the box is a great tip. One of the things we said on there was you don't have to just use ornaments as ornaments.
Right.
You can pull signs, you can pull different things. And then I was laughing. I told Bayleigh, I saw someone say, using big outdoor bulbs mixed in with your regular bulbs on your tree, that they had seen it in anthropology and they were so excited. And I was like, we've been doing that for years and years. And it really does add a different dimension to your tree. So that's just one of those things of like, think outside of the box. And do you know how I started doing that? It's because that's what I had.
Right.
I was like, man, I wish I had more lights. And all I had was outdoor lights. So I added them to my tree, and I was like, this is brilliant. Yeah. So then we did it on everyone's tree for a while.
I was about to say, I got that from April. I did not make that up. But it works. Yeah. And it's a great way to fill your tree.
Yeah, and to make it feel like it's, I don't know, I like the difference in the two different lights.
Yeah, me too.
And I think another one that I think sums up the way that we like to decorate is texture. Always adding a lot of texture to your trees. So
if you like glitter, some things that are glitter, but some things that are matte. Add in some things that are furry. If this works with what you've got going, add some things that are like wooden or like made of sticks. We love picks. We always stick picks all throughout our tree. You can go to Hobby Lobby. Until November 17th, all their Christmas stuff is 50% off. And when their picks are 50% off, they cost like $1.
Yeah.
Our warning about Hobby Lobby is, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I want to go buy a few things, you got to go now, because after Thanksgiving, they will be wiped clean, and they do not restock.
Yeah.
So,
well, they'll have stuff. It just won't be the
good stuff.
The good stuff. Also, always check the floral department.
Yes.
Because they do, Hobby Lobby in particular does great Christmas florals, but you won't think about that whenever you're looking at just the picks, and you're like, I can't find exactly what I'm looking for. And often, if you look in the florals, they'll have some stems that work perfectly, especially on the top of your tree. And don't be afraid, once again, to kind of get crazy. And do you know what I do? I start sticking those picks and those floral stems in my hand and hold them like I'm at the top of my tree, and until it gets to a place that I'm like, that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's enough. And if you don't have much money, 2 or 3 things, and you can make it work. And we're going to post a tree that we did we just used what they had last year. It was just a white tree with white lights, and we did only red ornaments and a couple of things that they already had at the top. And this year we spent like $10 and added some ribbon and 2 things maybe to the top, and it made a huge difference. And so you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a big impact on that. And that's one of the things that when we talk about feathering your nest that we always want you to do is think outside of the box, because you don't have to spend a lot of money.
Last year, I had no money to add to my tree, but I knew that I wanted to do some things to change it up. And so I just took yarn and made puff balls myself. And it was clearance yarn. And I was telling April today, it took me so long to make those dumb puff balls because all that was on clearance was the little skinny yarn. It would have been much faster with fat yarn. But I spent like $5 on the entire topper for my tree and extra little ornaments to go around. So it doesn't have to cost you a ton.
No.
We would rather that you not spend a ton.
There was one Christmas that my kids and I decorated an entire tree out of paper snowflakes, popcorn strung on a string we did like burlap little tie, I don't know, it's called twine. Twine that we tied bells and ribbon. I tied little tiny, I may have spent $10 on the entire tree decorations. And it was so fun. We made the little, salt dough ornaments and everything was like things I had in my house already. So you don't have to spend a lot of money. And another thing that I saw, this is a great idea, and I've never done this, but I thought this would be a fun thing, is they were saying that they got several friends together and all of them said, we're just going to pack up several things that we're not going to use of our decorations this year and put them in a box and we're going to switch.
That is a great idea.
And so then you have some fresh, you have some fresh decorations that maybe you hadn't, I don't know.
That's a great idea. If any of you do that, let us know.
Yeah.
Tag us.
Maybe we'll do that.
I've already decorated and I've already got rid of it. I've put everything away that I'm not pulling anything
I got rid
out.
of everything last year that I didn't use. I used to keep I want to change stuff out. And we were in the simplifying phase because we were in the tiny house, and I got rid of everything. So I don't even know what I have.
Yeah.
I mean, I had one tree last year, a small one. So it's going to be slim pickings this year.
I have faith that you can do a lot with a little, so we'll see.
We're going to make it happen.
If you want any more tips, we are going to post a blog in the coming days, so watch our Instagram for that.
Yes.
And we will add to these Christmas tree tips because there are about 5 more, but we won't make you listen to them right now.
We're not going to go through all of that today. Next thing, guarding your nest.
Yes, and this is a touchy one.
It can be very touchy.
This can be very touchy, but it's very important. Self-care is such a buzzword, and I think sometimes it can be misused. But in this regard, self-care is take care of your people as you see fit. Be careful with your yeses. Be careful with your nos. It can be very difficult, especially if both sides of your family live in town. You want to do everything. And I am a recovering people pleaser. I was a people pleaser for a long time. April says adoption cured me of that because it had to. But my kids cannot be at every activity.
No.
They cannot handle it. It's not fair to them to expect them to be everywhere and to behave and to put a smile on their face and hug everyone and have a good time. They require downtime just like we all do.
Yeah.
And so say yes where you can, sure. And then where you have to say no, kind of be firm in that and then let go of the guilt.
Right.
And my advice to people who don't have small kids anymore is be gentle with the people who say no because they probably would like to say yes.
Right. And also try to remember what it was like whenever you had a house full of little ones and how difficult it can be, even in growing. And I remember when we had one baby and thinking, this is so hard to go anywhere and to do anything with, and then I had two, and I was like, having one was a breeze. I had no idea. And now that I have five, I'm like, when I only had 3 kids, I was really good at being a mom, you know?
Yeah.
And so there just is this, as you grow in different seasons, you start to look at other people in different seasons, and you almost look down your nose at them. And so I would just say across the board, we all need to just be kind to one another and not get frustrated whenever someone can't live up to your expectations. Maybe lower your expectations.
Right.
And for those of us who have had to say the hard no's and have had to hurt people's feelings at times, that is not something that I take lightly. But at the end of the day, I have to protect my kids and I have to protect our family and I have to guard these days that we have. Like, Christmas Day is not any more important as far as relationally to other people than any other day of the year. So if you feel like the only day that you need my kids with you is Christmas Day, then chances are you need to be building that relationship somewhere else. And I say that from the most loving place, but you know, like, let's spread it out a little.
Right. And this is coming from 2 people who obviously are trying every way that we can to live our lives with other people. And we say all the time when we're speaking at events, like, our job is not to make our life easy for our families. Like, that is not our intention. That is not our purpose. But we do, as parents, have to protect our kids. And this is one way that kind of comes out, is that over the holidays, we can't do 3 parties 5 days out of the week. I mean, it's just not doable.
Well, and especially when you have kids who have sensory issues, when there are kids who have trauma background, all of these things that play into it. And sometimes, like, as a parent, if I don't say no, my family is getting the worst of me because I get so stressed out. And as an introvert, like, who works really, really hard to love people and to be outside of that and to invite people in and to get out and all of those things, like, if I don't have time to recharge, then my family gets the worst of me. I can put on the happy face in front of other people. And so if I ever have to say no, it's usually because sometimes it's me that needs it, but sometimes it's one of my kids who I just see is struggling, and I have to say, this is just not what we need tonight. So, sometimes we just need to go home.
Right. Well, and we have a child who experienced a lot of loss, and the holidays are hard for her in a way that she can't even necessarily put words to, but we see that behind closed doors, and we have to mend that and protect her in that way as best we can, and people don't always see that. And so just let's all sin and, be abounding with grace.
Yes. We hope that you guys can take the meat from that. I know we rambled on a little bit, but as you are gathering and feathering and protecting your nest this holiday season, we hope that you will think about the people around you, that you will see people, and that you will be intentional about the decisions that you make this holiday season. We can't wait until next week. We're going to share with you guys some of our favorite gifts this season, from handmade gifts to, if you have a little small budget, to all of the things that we've seen that we love. So we can't wait to share those.
As you are celebrating these holidays and feathering your nest and inviting people over, use our hashtag Where I Nestle and share that with our community.
Yes.
I think everybody would love to see that. We all are always looking for ideas for traditions and things like that. So be sure and share that so we can pop over and see what you're up to. Also, you can join our Facebook group. It is Nestled in the Neighborhood. We are currently still working through Shannon Martin's book, The Ministry of Ordinary Places, but we are doing other stuff in there as well.
Yeah, it's a great place to be able to be encouraged by other people who are trying to live this out. It's a great place to ask questions. It's a closed group, so you don't have to worry about everybody on Facebook seeing whatever you're saying. And so it's a good avenue if you want to have some people to help you along in this journey. And we post some things there that we don't post on our regular page. And so hopefully to encourage you as you are trying to really love on your neighbor and be intentional with where you're at.
And then our Facebook page as well as our Instagram account is at Nestled Podcast. And then you can find us on our website at nestledpodcast.com or poshnestdesigns.com. They'll both take you there.
Yes, we're so thankful that you guys stuck around this week to take a peek in our nest. We can't wait to see you back next week.
As always, the door will be open.